that you're not young, but I'm throwing it to the younger of the two of us. Yeah.
So I have to tell you, this exploded on the internet over the weekend, and we follow the Me Too campaign very closely. We talk about sexual assault a lot on this show. We're all supporters of the Me Too campaign. I worked at Fox News. I have a lot of, not experience with sexual harassment, but I was in an environment where obviously everyone knows that whole story. This one in particular, and this seems like a lot of landmines talking about this on TV, but this one in particular, I have a lot of questions.
Start with what is a nonverbal, if you can answer this, because I didn't understand it when I read it.
I don't know what that means either, but I talk for a living. I also, every time I've been in and again, I don't want to shame her because every experience is different, but every sexual situation I've been put in was on my terms. I come from a very empowered family. My mother taught me a lot of things when I was growing up. I have been trying really hard to understand this one because they went on a date, they still performed sexual acts, and she was saying... On each other. Both of them. And she was saying that he didn't pick up on her non-verbal cues.
Yeah, which I don't understand.
To me, verbal cues are important as well. Saying no is important, but I don't want to shame her, and there's a lot of women coming to her defense, but I'm really mixed and quite honestly confused on this one.
Listen, consent is always a very difficult thing, right? When is no, no? When is yes, yes? And it's something that when you prosecute these kinds of cases, it comes up all the time. When you're talking about non-verbal consent, it's you're not saying no verbally, but you're doing that sort of thing.
But I think you
almost have to be a mind reader.
Well, you can't. Yeah, that seems to be a bit of an issue. Yeah. Because now this means, so if you're on a date and he's not as good as you thought, and you're uncomfortable, and you go, does that mean stop, get out, go away?
Well, that's the problem with those nonverbal cues.
But whatever happened to stop, or I'm going to knock you in your nuts?
Or just, I don't want to be here. I mean,
I want to go,
what's troubling when you look at the text message exchange, and I think everyone should, he reaches out to her after their date and says, it was a pleasure meeting you. And then she says to him, I was very uncomfortable, I went home crying. And he responds, oh my goodness, I'm paraphrasing here, but I didn't realize, I had no idea, I'm so sorry you had that experience. So there clearly was a missing piece there for both of them. But the question is this really sexual assault? I can tell you it's not a case I'd bring to trial.
I don't think
because
it's assault,
she voluntarily went with him back to his apartment. They did engage in sexual activity consensually, and then somewhere along the lines, she decided that she had enough and she wanted to go home.
And did he try to stop her from going?
He did not. In fact, he called the Uber for her. So it's a tough,
too, is with the Me Too campaign, it's about power and men being in power and using their power to sexually pressure women at work and social situations. The Harvey Weinstein cases are very cut and dry. And now we're heading into this territory where I feel like the goalposts are being moved. And quite frankly, I had this conversation where
she isn't.
He's famous and wealthy, but does that mean if you are famous and wealthy, you're not allowed to date someone who's not famous and wealthy? I'm a hell of a lot more famous than my husband. No offense to him, but does that mean that you
we have a famous guy here. What do you think? It's hard.
I don't know. I'm trying to listen, which is what I think men should be doing right now. I think they should be listening to the conversation. I think if you get into a place of mind reading, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out for anybody if we're expected to read your mind. I promise you that, especially in a sexual encounter. With the harassment thing, I mean, people have to be allowed to date, famous or not.
Yes.
Right? And he doesn't. I don't think she works in show business or works for him or directly in any relationship. I don't think he has the power.
It was a date.
She's a photographer.
It's not the power. It's a date. But again, there's nothing I can say that's going to contribute much to this that we all don't already know. So listen.
But from a guy's perspective, consent. That's a tough one, isn't it?
Nonverbal, it's very tricky. You're asking a lot. Nonverbal is just too vague. I think you have to be verbal. And once no is established, then it's established.
It may sound non-liberated too, but when I first started dating, my mom told me, I can specifically remember this conversation, that if you want to sleep with a man, make sure you're ready and know that if you go back to his house or apartment alone, he will probably assume that's what you want to do. And apparently even saying that makes me not liberated or makes me not a feminist. And I just don't, it's confusing for me now what the expectations are. And for me, I've always had the luxury of knowing my sexual boundaries and what I was comfortable with and when. I've also had the luxury of being with men who also respected me. This story I have been told by many of my girlfriends. They've had similar experiences in this way. But I'm concerned about what this does to the Me Too movement. And I'm also freaked out about talking about this on television because I think there's going to be a huge backlash against people who even dare to question things like nonverbal.
But here's the thing. If we can't ask questions, then we can't get answers. So you can't just come at people who are saying, listen, I don't understand this, because I grew up in a totally different thing. My mom said 125,000 years ago, you know, listen, if you go to a guy's apartment and something does happen, it's going to be a lot harder for you to say, listen, this is what happened, because you can say, no, it didn't. So if you're not interested in that position, if you don't want that, then don't do that. And it's okay if he doesn't like you anymore or doesn't want to date you anymore. So you make the decision. If you're looking for that, then, you know, it's quite possible you could get it if you go. But if you're not looking for that, chances are you might want to just say, it's been nice seeing you this evening.
Can I just say this? Date rape is a real thing, though.
Yeah, of course.
And that's something else.
But Sonny, nobody's talking about date rape. This is not a case of date rape.
I'm not talking about date rape. I'm just asking questions.
I just want to make it clear that that's not what we're talking about.
I got married 2 months ago. I dated a lot. I haven't been married 20 years like you. And I'm just saying that this is confusing for me.
Yes.
And I was saying all weekend, thank God I'm married, because I don't understand it, and it doesn't mean I think I don't want anyone to misconstrue this. I don't think date rape's okay. I don't think assault's okay.
No,
I don't think just because you're alone with a man,
nobody is saying that at the table.
Credence to date rape you or to harass you or to sexually harass you in any way. I just have questions about this specific story.
And I worry where the line is, because I'm raising a teenage boy and I'm raising a young girl, and I do wonder, you know, where is the line now?
The line is very, very clear. If you are not interested in having a physical relationship, or you don't want to do that, you don't want to have a makeout session, then say goodnight after dinner. Say goodnight after dinner. Don't go to their apartment, because it is quite possible that you going to someone's apartment may make them feel that you are comfortable with this. If you know that you're not comfortable with this, or you're not looking for this, perhaps wait till the second date.
But what if you want to go out to his apartment, but you just want to kiss?
Then say no when I still believe in him. Tell him that.
Tell him that.
Tell him. Just verbally. We'll be right back.